y'all don't need love. You need somebody who could micromanage you, you know what I'm saying, tell you right from wrong, who's smart from who's a fool.
Hey beauty babes, this is Kaylin back again with a new video. I am so sorry for the long wait on this one, but this is something new that we're trying out today, and I'm calling it a half lash set. So basically it's going to be a set focused mainly on the outer corners that gradually fades into the inner corners with very light coverage on the inner corners. So we're doing mainly about 70% of coverage on this set. And here you can see me just getting her ready for lashing. So we're just doing the lash bath, eye pads, and tape, of course, to secure the bottom lashes. Really take your time with this part and make sure that you don't have any lower lashes sticking out, just because that can obviously make it really hard at the end when you're removing the tape and the eye pads. And I will go into some detail here in just a second with the mapping. I didn't actually write it down on my pads, but I will put it on the screen for you what curls and lengths and diameters I used. I was kind of unsure between using just CC or D curls, but I actually ended up mixing them together. And you'll see in just a moment how I'm actually going to section out the lash line. And of course, every single lash set can be customized for each individual client, so do not feel pressured to use the curls and diameters I used on this set today. You can definitely adjust that for your client specifically. For my client today here, I'm going to be mixing the longer lengths on the outer corners. So I am mixing the 0.5s and the 0.3s with the CCs and the Ds. So we're basically just kind of going based off each individual lash and seeing its condition. Since she has worn lashes for quite a few years now, you can see that there are some areas in her lashes where maybe there's a small gap, or there's a lot of baby lashes growing in, or maybe some weaker lashes. So we want to just be mindful of the natural lashes condition and adjust our fans to that natural lash. For the thinner, weaker lashes, I am putting the 0.3 lashes on, and I'm not using very many extensions. As you can see, there's no more than 8 individual lashes per fan. And I'm also going to be using the 0.5s on my stronger, more adult lashes, and you'll see that those are mainly focused on the top layers, and the 0.3s are focused on the bottom layers. And here we go with the baby lashes. You can see them right there, and of course I'm leaving those alone. We're just going to let them continue to grow so that they stay healthy. And you just want to be very careful with your placement, your isolation, of course, and making sure that you don't get anything stuck together. You can see that I'm lashing the inner corners at the same time that I'm lashing the outer corners, just basically to speed through the process and also just make sure that I am achieving the look I want, and I can also still have time to play around with the inner corners if I need to. So for right now, what I'm doing is just lashing the very top layer of the inner corners. And you can see that I'm using, of course, my shortest lengths on the inner corners, which would be 9mm to 11mm, and they'll gradually go up in length. And I'm not really lashing very many inner corner lashes. I'm skipping a few lashes in between actually on the top layer, and I'm trying to achieve more of that wet look on the inner corners. The goal with the half set is to have very light coverage on the inner corners, where you can barely even tell that there's extensions there, and of course leaving the drama, the darkness, and the fluff to the outer corners to lift up the eye and give it that kind of eyeliner effect. You might be asking yourself, who is this set for? And this set is definitely going to be for all of my natural girls and all of my clean girl aesthetic girlies. This is going to be a very natural look that of course can be customized and be done much shorter. I do plan to bring some videos here in the coming weeks for very natural short sets. I also plan to bring some more at-home beauty content for you guys that can teach you how to do your own nails at home and how to maintain your own brows at home, whether that be through lamination, tint, waxing, or tweezing. I do have brow services available that I do plan to share with you guys and teach you how I actually do my services as well. If you have anything in specific you'd like to learn from me or have questions about, definitely let me know down below. And if there's anything you're struggling with, I would love to be your source of assistance and source of knowledge. I've definitely learned quite a lot in the last few years of this career, and I've loved to share, and I love to help other people grow and become better with their skills. So it's definitely my mission here. Whoever's watching this right now and you're just trying to learn new skills, new styles, new tips and tricks for lashing, I am so grateful to have you here, and I definitely believe in you, and I know you have all the potential to be an amazing artist. So definitely do not hesitate to use your sources, reach out to fellow lash artists that are more experienced or have the quality of work that you're looking to put out into the world. So definitely do not hesitate, don't be shy. We've all had to start somewhere, and the important part is just that you're here and you're trying and you're looking for the information, you're looking to further your skills and improve them. I'm so proud of you, and I look forward to being your source. Also, feel free to check out my ebook in my description below. It is basically a compilation of all the knowledge I've gathered throughout the last 4 years in this industry, so definitely check that out, and I have some very helpful tips and tricks in there for you. Now let's get back to the lash set. So from this top view, you can really see the inner corners and the space that I'm leaving in between each extension. You can see I'm only placing them on the top layer, as I mentioned. And of course I am doing almost 90% coverage on the outer half of the eye. As you can see, the lower and the top layers are getting lashed. You'll notice that I'm using my mirror a lot throughout the session so that I can check the direction of the extensions to make sure they're all facing the same direction, and I don't have anything messing up the actual look of the set, because as you know, if they are facing the wrong direction, you will notice it when the eye is open, since the extension will dry in that position. So definitely make sure and be cautious with the direction you're placing the extensions in. And you'll see, of course, that I'm being very meticulous with my isolation, making sure I have only one individual eyelash separated. And I am sorry my focus is going in and out a little bit there, but I did my best here to get the best angle I could for you. Let me know if you would like different types of angles, or if you'd like to see the consultation as well for these lash appointments, because as I mentioned, these are customized to each client, and we do talk about what it is the client is looking for, what their personal style is, and they even sometimes bring in inspo pictures for me. So we work together to create the set always, and it of course is for the client, so we want her to be happy, and I will always be happy as long as she gives me the patience I need to provide her the amazing work that I know I can provide. One of the questions I consistently see in my comments is how long does a lash set take me? And honestly, every single lash set takes me no less than 3 hours, especially considering content and pictures before and after, with a consult at the beginning of the appointment. So definitely do not focus on time, especially as a beginner lash artist. You definitely want to take your time and perfect your skills. You want to make sure that you have your isolation, your placement down before you worry about time. This set, since it was just the one eye, it only took me an hour to complete this full set with the filming and the pictures that I was doing. But again, that's just going to be different for every single lash tech. There's no way that we can all lash at the same speed and finish appointments within the same time frame. Every single lash tech has a different technique and they use different products. So of course, there's no comparison here. It's really just about the quality of work that you provide. And as long as you focus on the quality of your work, you will have happy clients with amazing retention that always come back. She came back after 2 weeks and she had nearly 50% left. So as long as that's the case every single time with every appointment, I'm a happy lash tech and I have a very happy clientele. So definitely do not pressure yourself to finish lash sets within an hour or 30 minutes, because honestly that's not even ethical or safe. I don't recommend speeding through lash sets because this is a very meticulous job. You do have to take your time and be patient and really take care of those eyelashes. At the end of the day, it's about the lash client's health and their safety, so don't jeopardize that by trying to be the quickest lash tech in town, because honestly it's not worth it in the long run. You will end up with a very bad reputation if you have clients with damaged eyelashes or lashes that just don't last. So definitely, if you're here, you're at the right place to perfect your skills and to learn more about lash health and to just further your education. My main goal with every single lash set that I create is to always give my clients amazing retention and amazing quality, so that if they And when they do remove their eyelash extensions, their natural lashes look exactly how they did before we even applied the extensions. That's super important to me because I don't want to be the reason that you have any bald spots, any gaps, or any damage to your natural lashes. Extensions should never damage the natural lashes, and I believe that is a huge myth in this industry, that extensions can damage the natural lashes. That would only be the case if they are applied improperly. So if you are not isolating and not placing them individually, then that would damage the lashes, absolutely, and it could honestly cause permanent damage and alopecia if you're not careful. So definitely take your time practicing. You can use sponges, mannequins, whatever it is that you feel comfortable with prior to practicing on people. If you are a beginner lash tech, you can never practice too much. So definitely don't be ashamed to get those sponges out, get those mannequins out, and put some time into it so that you can really perfect those skills. And you can see that I do use the pads and tape at the bottom to kind of tap my extensions if I've picked up a little bit too much adhesive. You want to be very careful with how much adhesive you're using when applying extensions. You don't want to drench the natural lashes in adhesive, and you definitely don't want to under apply the adhesive either, because that will cause very poor retention. Initially it might look like the extension's holding on, but any slight movement or even a brush through with the spoolie will just cause them to pop off if there's not enough adhesive. So definitely be aware of how your adhesive works, how fast it dries, the humidity that's required for it to dry properly in your space, and of course just making sure that you don't get anything stuck together, because it is extremely difficult to separate the extensions once they've been stuck together and they've dried together. So be very careful when placing them and letting them dry before you move on to the next one. The reason I'm working on the inner and outer corners at the same time is to allow my outer corner lashes that I just applied to dry while I'm placing the inner corners, and vice versa. So this is a really good tip for anybody that struggles with fully drying their extensions or any stickies throughout their set. Stickies basically means the extensions next to each other getting stuck together because the adhesive was still wet. So making sure that it gives it enough time to dry is essential to making sure you don't get any stickies in your set, and also so you don't have any pain at the end trying to remove those. Now that we're about halfway through the set, you can really notice the difference in coverage, as I was mentioning earlier. And the outer corners, you can definitely tell that they are much fuller than the inner corners, and you can tell that there is some space in between the inner corners, but you will see in the mirror at the end here that you really can't tell that there's not 90% coverage in the inner corners like there is on the outer, and it blends in seamlessly because I've mixed in the CC and the D curls, as well as layering the extensions. So I am in the middle section right there that you see basically with no extensions, going to mix extensions on the layers to blend them in seamlessly. You can see that on the top layer I'm mainly focusing my spikes, which are the closed fans, which are also 0.5 so that they're a little bit darker and thicker. And on the bottom layers I'm focusing my 0.3s, and I'm using more of narrow fans just to give it a little bit more fluff and fullness at the bottom layers, and just so that it also blends in with those spikes at the top so that they don't look so wispy and wet, and it gives them a little bit more coverage. Right here you can see that this is where I'm deciding to start blending in the outer corners to the inner corners. So you can see that I'm putting in a 0.3 on the lower layer there, and I'm going to do the same thing I did on the inner corners, where I skip a few lashes in between. Since our lashes grow in layers, it is important to go ahead and blend in the layers together, because if I only lashed the top layer, you would definitely be able to see that the lower layer is completely bare when she looks up. So I am doing that just so that they look good from every single angle, and especially when she's taking pictures of herself. This of course also helps you as a lash tech with your retention, because the more extensions there are, the longer they will last. So she came back with almost more than 50% of the set left, and it's only a half set, which speaks volumes to my placement and my isolation. as well as my application. So definitely I recommend making those a priority and always making sure that you're checking on the set while you're actually creating it with your mirror. This helps you so that you can constantly check in on the set from below, from basically what the client's view would be, and making sure that you are achieving both the look that you and your client desire, and that will make both of you happy. And we're just going to go ahead and get this set finished up here. I'll let you enjoy the rest of this little section here with lashing and some good tunes. One quick tip I also want to give with placement is to go based off that natural lashes growth. So wherever direction that lash is growing in, you kind of want to work with it or against it if it's going in the wrong direction from where you're wanting your set to go. So I definitely recommend side placement or bottom placement of the extension, because that is going to give you the best retention, and it also allows you to kind of wrap that fan around the natural lash. Of course, wrapping the natural lashes isn't essential, and honestly it sometimes can cause damage when trying to remove them, so it's not my favorite thing to do. I recommend just being very aware of how much adhesive you're using and making sure it's securely attached before you move on. But you can see most of the extensions that I've placed throughout the set have been on the side or on the bottom of the natural lash. You can also see right here, she does have a little bit more of a sparse area here. I wouldn't call it a gap because there are obviously still some baby lashes growing in there, and they should be fully grown by the next time that I see her for her fill. But I will go ahead and lash every single adult lash that I can in that section, and I'm going to mainly put 0.5s just to give it that darkness and fullness so that you can't really notice that there's a slight sparseness there. And you can see here that just with those few extensions, it's covered up and it's gone. You can't even tell that there's a gap there. We're just removing that tape really gently that was holding up the lid and brushing through those lashes really quickly just to make sure they're all in order, and also checking one more time with that mirror. Get a good look at that from the bottom. Look what we just created. You just saw me check for some stickies by lifting up her lid to make sure nothing was stuck to the iPad underneath. And now we are just going to go in with our bonder to seal in that lash adhesive with the natural lashes. And of course I am using a fan, which you can't see in the frame, but it is drying that bonder and the lashes just to make sure that this client gets no fumes in her eyes whatsoever when she opens up. And now for every single client's favorite part, we're removing the tape and the iPads that have been holding your eye hostage for the last hour, and we're just going to remove them one by one, making sure not to pull or tug, removing them very gently. And we're about to get a final look at this amazing set we just created. And here she is. This is a half set from the bottom view, which is what my client's going to get to see every single day. And look at how stunning her eyes look. It's just amazing what some extensions can do. And I really hope you've enjoyed this video today. Leave some comments down below. See you soon.